What is up, everypone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at Cirtrus's AU, the Chaos Virus, and I'm gonna be completely honest. The last time I looked at his AU was back in October, so it's been a couple months, and truthfully, I kind of regret making the video on his AU only 13 slides, because I believe he commented under it and said every 21 episodes is a season. So what we're going to do for this video is we're going to finish the rest of Season 1, because I think that should be a good idea, and then next time we look at his AU, we're going to do all of Season 2, because I think that would be better for the video on its own. So, oh man, it's a little bit early, about 10:06, I've taken my medication if you will. Make sure to check the description before we jump into this. Check out the gaming channel. We're currently working on a playthrough for Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Definitely check out the music channel, Rust Fade, and check out the Spotify with all the music and the other links in the description if you're interested. And that's all I really gotta say. So let's jump into Cirtrus's AU, the Chaos Virus, and see what we've been missing out on. Alright, so here we are on the Chaos Virus, Part 14. I don't remember much from the last time. If you need a recap, though, the link for the first video will be in the description down below, so definitely check that out if you want to be updated. It's been a while, but we're going to try to be a little bit more consistent with AUs that I have yet to finish. So, early into the night, not long after dark, Rarity is trying to sleep peacefully. She also has been suffering from nightmares, much like her sister. Although her nightmares are very different from her younger sister's. She hasn't been able to get a good night's sleep since the games. Now, just hearing about the games, I do remember a little bit. There was something about Ponyville games, a really bad thing happening, and a bunch of crazy stuff happened. So I think that's going to click. I think slowly yet surely, some of the memories from when I first looked at this, which I got to be honest with you, back in October, it was a rough time for me mentally. So trying to remember a lot of stuff from October is a little difficult. As I mentioned in the My Little Fungus video that I made recently, I recently became sober from nicotine, so it's definitely going to be able to be a lot easier for me to focus and work on myself mentally, so maybe it'll be a bit easier to remember this going forward. Within her nightmare, Rarity, what's going on here? Why is it so dark? She is surrounded by pitch black darkness. She cast a simple spell to light up the area. A series of knocks ring out from the second floor. Hang on real quick, because I know what TikTok's gonna do. TikTok ain't funny. She looks around the empty boutique, seeing nothing. Sweetie, where are you, darling? This is no time for hide and seek. Another set of knocks rings out, louder this time. She cautiously approaches the steps. This isn't funny, sweetie. She makes her way towards Sweetie Belle's room, hoping to find her sister playing a prank. As Rarity steps onto the second floor, the door to her own room creaks open. Believing that her sister is playing a prank on her, she approaches the door with a renewed confidence. You better not make a mess with my fabrics. When she swings the door open, a timber wolf is standing there, only a few feet away, with bloody teeth. She freezes for a moment before the large creature leaps after her. She scrambles towards the stairs, letting out a shriek in the process. The timber wolf hits the wall opposite the doorway, dazed for a moment, but quickly leaps after her. Rarity slips and falls over the second-story railing, but before she can hit the ground, Rarity tumbles from her bed and is awake when she hits the floor. Frazzled but happy it was only a dream, she decides to get a late-night snack. When she passes the window, she pauses and scans the streets below. The night is oddly quiet. She thinks for a moment, but chalks it up to every pony being tired from traveling for memorials. Okay. Nope, that's 13. I went the wrong way. My bad. Not much later, on the other side of Ponyville, Fluttershy is finishing up with her nightly tasks around the sanctuary. Her last task is feeding the sheep. As she is filling the trays with healthy greens, she is having a discussion with Angel. Fluttershy, I know, Angel, you'll get your carrot smoothie as soon as I'm done here. She pauses to listen to her pet rabbit. There's a series of squeaks. No, I don't know what every creature has been worried about, and neither do any of them. She gestures to the rest of the sanctuary before pausing again. Another series of squeaks. I've already checked all around the entrances and spoken to every creature to hear what they have to say. She pauses once more, yet another set of squeaks. If there was something around here, I would have found it. I've checked everything I know to check. Maybe it's just a storm I forgot about. She pauses yet again. Even more squeaks. She fills the last of the trays for the sheep. Angel, is there anything else? A series of mildly annoyed and aggressive squeaks. I haven't forgotten about your carrot smoothie. Very excited squeaks. Now come on, Angel, it's almost time for bed. The duo of the shy Pegasus and her small bunny make their way to her cottage. Fluttershy takes a couple minutes to make Angel's nightly carrot smoothie. Once the bunny had downed the orange liquid, the duo went upstairs. Fluttershy adjusted Angel's bed just as she did so many nights before. He buried himself into the warmth of his small bed. Then Fluttershy crawled up into her own bed and shifted around a few times before wishing her pet a good night. Very wholesome, very cute. We know Flutters loves Angel Bunny, so that's adorable if you picture it in your mind. And one of my favorite things about Cirtrus's AU is even though it's all text, if you have a wild and very good imagination, you can imagine all of this playing out in your head a certain way or another way. It just depends on how you look at it. So it's super cool in that perspective too. Part 16. Rainbow Dash spends several hours helping out at Wonderbolt headquarters. She volunteered for 6 more memorial shows over the next week. By the time she gets to return home, every pony else is asleep and the moon is high in the sky. When she does make it home, she runs through her regular end-of-the-day routine, washes up with a quick shower, gets a quick snack, and finally gets nice and cozy in her bed. Tank, who had been enjoying the nice weather while she was at work, sprawled himself out into his bed. Although just before she was able to fall asleep, she heard a knock at her door. She lifted her head and waited, checking if she was imagining it. Although a few moments later, another knock rang out. So, begrudgingly, she pulled herself from the comfort of her bed and headed to the front door. Rainbow. She swings the door open and is surprised to find that there isn't anyone there. Then her eyes slide down. Sometimes I wonder if Pinkie is the real loyal one. She grabs the small basket and closes the door behind her. Once she reaches the kitchen, she reads the attached letter. Dear Dashie, I know you probably were just about to go to bed, but I just had to make sure that you got my special gift basket. I sent one to every Wonderbolt, but only I delivered yours. Besides, I can't go galloping all over Equestria. I have more sweets to bake. I hope you enjoy this special gift for all the work you're doing at the air shows. With love and sugar, Pinkie Pie. P.S. I knocked twice because I know you won't check if I knock just once. She's aware. After thoroughly pursuing the contents of the basket and tasting a few of the eye-catching options, she put the basket away and turned to go back to her room. She did go back for one last bite of the triple rainbow cake, but ultimately she did return to her bed and a few minutes later was fast asleep. Pinkie Pie is such a good friend. Like, how do you not like Pinkie? She's been growing on me a lot. Pinkie returned to Sugar Cube Corner after delivering Rainbow's gift basket. She reached the door just before midnight. Her tail twitches for a moment. Knowing what comes next, she sidesteps, and a few seconds later, a flower pot crashes against the ground. Pinkie. She looks up and spots the tray that hangs outside her window. Hanging loosely, clearly, missing one of the 3 flower pots that it normally holds. I really gotta fix that. She cleans up the broken pot and reaches for the door, although she is interrupted. Her body goes through several twitches and involuntary movements. She sits for a few moments more. The quiet moment was oddly comforting. She doesn't have her normal boundless energy as she has been overworking herself with baking. She returns to the kitchen and decides to bake at least one more thing, a cupcake for herself before bed. She scans the area for anything out of the ordinary. Nothing seems out of place. She sits for a moment to see if anything will happen. This isn't the first time she's discovered a new twitch. In most cases, it's some abstract thing that is ultimately harmless. After making herself one delicious cupcake, she takes the chance to enjoy it under the moon. After savoring her own incredible baking, she looked up at the moon, debating in her head if she could touch it, if she jumped high enough. I could use my party cannon 3.0, or maybe Twilight's old balloon. Oh, wonder if I could convince Dashy to help. I could build a giant slingshot or another rocket. She pauses and debates internally for a few more moments. I guess it's time to finally go to sleep. I'm gonna need a lot of energy for tomorrow. Okay. Pinkie, Pinkie, Pinkie. Starlight. Twilight, Twilight. She burst into Twilight's room, waking her. You have got to come see this. I think something is very, very wrong. Twilight. She stumbled from the bed at the sudden noise, but quickly got to her hooves. What's going on, Starlight? What time is it? It's just past midnight. She paused to allow that fact to sink in. She looks visibly confused, double-checking the clock on the wall. It is indeed a few minutes after midnight. Twilight is puzzled, but still the middle of the night, but she can see a few streams of light coming through the door to her room. She rises and follows Starlight to the balcony across from her room. When she reaches the door, she is utterly shocked by the sight she is beholding. The night sky is lit up with sunlight, the sun and moon locked into a partial eclipse. As Twilight scans across Ponyville, she notices many of its inhabitants are now outside their homes, looking up at the curious sky situation. She looked over Ponyville one more time before her gaze lands on Sweet Apple Acres, which is now cleary, pouring thick smoke into the sky. Starlight, get help in town and meet me at the farm. She nods and teleports to the town center, seeking any help she can. As soon as she appears in town, a number of ponies swarm her with questions. Twilight teleports to the outskirts of Sweet Apple Acres. Much to her dismay, a large portion of the orchard is engulfed in flames. I have to get Applejack. She teleports once again, this time between the barn and farmhouse. Oh no. That's not a good sign. That's never a good sign. A simple oh no. Oh no. The Apple family home was partially consumed by flames. The doorway was blocked by burning debris. Twilight rushed as close as she could get and called out for Applejack. All she could do was hope that the apples were somehow safe. Twilight, Applejack, can you hear me? She was screaming over the roar of the flames. Applejack, Twilight, is that you? I can't understand you. She called out a second time, but the roar of the fire was too loud for her to be clearly understood. She teleports into the burning building and scans the lower floor for Applejack. What are you doing? She yells from the area that the CMC, and the other apples are huddled together. Twilight was about to teleport them all out to safety, but just as she cast a spell, a piece of burning wood thuds against her head from above. This leads to them being teleported closer to the fire than intended. Most of them are still unharmed, except Big Mac, who gets a nasty burn from the botched spell. Excuse me. Still got a bit of a phlegmed up throat for a bit, but I'll be fine. Just as Twilight and the apples make it to the safety of the clearing in the center of the farm, Starlight, Rarity, and Pinkie arrive. Upon realizing what happened, Starlight starts tending to Big Mac's injury. Pinkie checks on Twilight, and Rarity is checking with the CMC. Give me 1 second, I'm going to take a drink real quick. I feel like that's gonna help with my throat and reading. Where are Rainbow and Fluttershy? Her voice, as weak as Pinkie's, is checking how badly her head is burnt. Pinkie, they are getting storm clouds to put out the fire. Right now, let's focus on making sure every pony's alright. Her voice is serious, a tone that Twilight has only heard a few times before. Every pony is accounted for. Now we just need to deal with the fire. She relaxes and allows Pinkie to finish her examination, knowing she won't get out of it. I don't think... Wait. Did I read the rest of this? I'm sorry, I'm not paying any attention. I'm having some severe brain farts. But let me do a recap of this. Just as Twilight and the Apples make it to the safety of the clearing center of the farm, Starlight, Rarity, and Pinkie arrive. Upon realizing what happened, Starlight starts tending to Big Mac's injury. Pinkie checks on Twilight and Rarity is checking with the CMC. Okay, that makes sense. Every pony was finally safe. The CMC were jumpy, and Big Mac still had a very burned leg, but they weren't in any more immediate danger. Or so they thought. As they were all catching their breath, a sound erupted from the orchard that made them all hold their breath. A roar that they only heard once in one other place. The Equestria Games. Oh, that's not good. Part 20. From the flames that were raging throughout the orchard emerged a creature that sent shivers down the spines of all present. It towered over even the large Big Mac. Once it noticed the group, it stopped and simply tilted what could only be its head. Two white pinpricks scanned across the ponies, stood in the clearing. Below the eyes was a large smile filled with dozens upon dozens of needle-like teeth, each one dripping with fresh blood. Its body was pure black, and from almost every angle a tentacle-like appendage sprouted and snaked through the air. The creature takes a step closer. Starlight instinctively teleports herself and everyone around her into the nearby barn, and in a quick flurry of magic, the door is barred. The creature slowly and methodically approaches and circles the building, peering through any gap large enough. The CMC huddled against Starlight, each filly shaking with fear. Big Mac struggled to his hooves, despite his recent injury, his protective instincts taking over. Granny Smith placed herself between the door and the fillies. Every pony was quiet, focusing on the looming threat just beyond the walls. Starlight needed a moment to refocus to cast another teleportation spell. Twilight was still hazy from the impact of the falling debris that botched her first spell. Outside, the creature had made a full circle around the barn. It stood outside the large wooden doors, its appendages slipping into the gaps around the door. On a feat of incredible power, the creature sheared the door from its hinges. One of its tentacles snatched up the nearest pony, Granny Smith. Oh boy. In a matter of seconds, after the sounds of snapping bones and tearing flesh, half of the aged green mare fell to the ground, the other half swallowed by the monster. As soon as the creature swung its head towards the rest of the group, Starlight panicked and cast her spell early. A side effect of this was that instead of landing in Twilight's castle, they all instead appeared in Ponyville's town center, and for them, things went from bad to worse. So this is not a good ending for part 1 here. This is the final slide, the chapter 1 finale. The group appears in Ponyville town center in a burst of magic. Although having successfully escaped one of the monsters, they now looked to see 7 more, all staring back at them. Each one had their head tilted, and just like before, teeth dripping with fresh blood. The scene that surrounded the group was grim. Corpses were thrown all along the street, and many houses had damage from an apparent attacks. These creatures were hunting down every pony they could find, and now 7 of them were all targeting the group. The closest of the creatures stepped closer. 3 of them are now approaching. Many of the group were frozen with fear. Big Mac and Twilight both were now feeling the full effects of adrenaline. Both of them were shifting to protect the rest of the group. Twilight, every pony behind me, now! As the 4 mares, Big Mac and the CMC shifted behind her, she fired off a magic blast as the closest of the approaching creatures. The creature was momentarily dazed, but quickly recovered from the blast almost as if nothing had happened. She grimaces at her failed attempts. The CMC was backing further away just out of her cone of vision. One of the creatures suddenly gets between the main group and the Cutie Mark Crusaders. The CMC panicked at being separated, and their collective shriek made most of the group freeze once again. Even Twilight faltered for a moment. Big Mac, fueled by pure adrenaline at this point, charged the creature to protect his little sister and her friends. Big Mac. He slammed his body into the massive frame of the creature. Despite his large frame, the creature was almost entirely unbothered, although it did shift its attention to him. Applejack. Apple Bloom, run! She screamed the only thing she could think to. If her brother hadn't even made the creature flinch, what could she do? Her instincts were screaming at her to rush forward, but Pinkie stopped her. The creature next to Big Mac snapped down on his head with a disturbing crunch. Applejack had stopped for Pinkie a moment before, but this time she forced her way past the pink mare. One flash of magic later, and the rest of the group appeared in the school. Twilight had cast a teleportation spell. Applejack, overtaken by fury, left her friend in a pile on the floor after a well-placed hoof to the face. Chapter 1 is complete. The group is somewhat safe in the school now. What will come next for them? I may take a couple of days off before starting Chapter 2. I am so incredibly proud of what I have created and can't wait for everyone who has supported me to see the huge plans I have going forward on the bright side. Once Chapter 2 starts, it will be back to daily updates. I'm aware that this post contains some of the biggest departures from the way these characters normally would act. This is partially due to some bad planning for this chapter's finale. Silver lining is that now all the characters are where I need them to be. The characterizations should be much better going forward. Can't wait to see you all in Chapter 2. So yeah, Chapter 1, that was the ending of Chapter 1, and that gets pretty crazy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That gets absolutely insane. Granny Smith is dead. Big Mac became the best protective brother, and I do not know, I don't know if my mind was completely there paying attention 100%, but Big Mac definitely made one of the most risky decisions he's ever made, but it kept the CMC safe, showing Big Macintosh as best Big Brother material. And I do gotta say, I really do like the Chaos Virus. Even though it doesn't have any of the legitimate artwork that a lot of people love AUs for, it has an amazing story based upon the Equestrian Games where tragedy struck. And it, obviously, if you're looking for tragedy, the ending of Chapter 1, these 7 slides that I looked at today, yeah, I don't see how that could be any further away from tragedy. That's pretty much tragedy straight to the definition. So it's really good. And I really do like the Chaos Virus. It's a really, really solid AU. So if you want to check this out, it'll be linked in the description. As I've said, if you want to be caught up, the previous video will also be in the description down below. Definitely check it out. But that's all I really got to say. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed, dislike if you didn't. It's completely okay either way. It does not bother me. It is completely up to you guys. And if you love the content on this channel, hit the bell notification so you get notified whenever I upload. It would help out a lot. Now that is all I got to say. So I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.
Fuck this, I'm an evil person. I keep glitching out, I hope that I hurt him. Fuck this, I have no sympathy. 40's fake, 40's fraud, fake fuckers to be. Fuck this, you have made me glitch out of